me your heart style. You wouldn't give a damn. Let me warn you, Herman man, don't be your business next to mine. Say it till I tell you so. You better back your fence and go. You've been so long, it's in the back door. Can't you see I got your eyes? Let me warn you, Herman man, don't be your business next to mine. Me your heart style, but you wouldn't give a dime. Let me warn you, Herman man, don't be your business next to mine. But a meanest man in town. Here's my troubles. No, no, no. Hey, Lord, mercy on me. Just need to keep them out of sight, yeah.
Hello guys. Hey Clash Kid. I'm going to analyze the game I played yesterday, an over the board game. As some of you know, I play for a team and we play each Saturday over the board game. So I analyze them on Sundays. But if for any reason you you feel like you want to send all your games as well, I can also analyze them. But I mean, I need to analyze my own games on one hand, and on the other hand, I think I'm not a great analyst. So yeah, we have very close rating then. So I think I'm not a good analyst in general, but my own games at least I want to analyze them. And yeah, I felt like sharing the analysis with people. Maybe people can also help me in that. Anyway, like the previous week, I think it's going to be a short session today because candidates round is ongoing, and yeah, this game by me is a terrible game, so it's not even close to be as interesting as what's going on in the candidates round. So I think it's going to be short, like half an hour or so. I'm going through the game and showing you the main points. As you can see from, maybe you can see, maybe you don't, from Lichess analysis. Oh, let me fix the view, something wrong with that. You cannot see the whole analysis because I'm showing what I shouldn't be showing, which is this. Okay. Okay, this way you can see more or less, I think, the whole analysis bar by Lichess, maybe. And well, I was black in this game, so well, first I'm going to try and flip the board. I was playing versus Ramon Fernandez Laje, which I knew from some rapid or blitz tournaments. He's a 1500 player, almost 1600. He plays decent chess, but of course he has the rating he has. As you can see in the bar, yeah, Clash Kid, you're right. I mean, I ended the game thinking that this was my worst game in a lot of years. I mean, I had the feeling, I knew I was lost, and as you can see, there were two major blunders. I basically hung a piece twice in the game. The first one I totally realized when I did it, and the second one I only realized in the post-mortem. So yeah, after the post-game analysis, I was like, I suck at chess. I mean, that was my worst game in in years. But on the other hand, as Lichess says, I only did those two blunders. The rest of the game is sound. Although, of course, with just hanging the piece in one move, I deserve to lose. I really deserve to lose this game. But I was very, very lucky to actually win in the end. Okay, the Alex. So the Alex is more or less the rating of my opponent. So maybe you also, Alex, feel identified with his mistakes, because he had to win this, and of course whenever I made a blunder, he also made a blunder, and then he even committed more mistakes. So okay, never mind, let's go through the game. My opponent played e4, and if you've been following my last games, you know this year I've been playing e5. I've been trying e5, although it's the first year I tried that. And for this game, one problem I had is I got really tired to the game. I was very tired even before starting the game. So I decided to go into my old repertoire with the Scandinavian, which I felt would be easier for me, because you know I know a lot of lines by heart, and I've played this millions of times. And after takes, I went for the Queen d6 line, which I'm very familiar with too. Now main lines go with d4, knight f3, and c6, knight f6 by black, although black can choose also to go with g6, lines with a6. Anyway, my opponent played here strange move order in a way. He first played bishop c4. I guessed I couldn't make use of it. I mean, I didn't find any problem in getting the bishop out first. So I decided to play normal with knight f6 and then try to transpose. I felt like this was going to transpose into main lines, where actually I'm not really scared of the lines with the bishop on c4. But here he made now a really strange move. Well, not a strange one, but a passive one, d3. I wouldn't play like that against the Scandi, although I do this myself a lot in Blitz. I mean, I wouldn't do that in a classical game, but in Blitz I play passive just with white, just to get the black side out of the theory, and so it's a little bit annoying, this idea by white, but of course black is totally fine after such an approach. Normal would be to establish the pawn on d4 and use the fact that white has more space for the rest of the game. Then especially the e5 square is going to be a good outpost, and yeah, the problem is these are main lines, and usually when black plays the Scandi, especially the Scandi with queen d6, it's because he knows what's doing, or at least knows the main path, and of course I know this very well. So yeah, the fact that he played d3 means that we're going to play just chess from here, no more theory, because of course d3 is not a main option. Anyway, since he got the bishop out and blocked the retreat of the bishop, I thought, okay, maybe it's a good time to play bishop g4, because I really want to get my own bishop out of my chain if I want to play e6, c6 in regular style. So I found this to be a normal move, and also asking him what is he going to do. Is he going to play f3? Is he going to walk into a self-ping, or is he going to play the strange looking queen d2? Okay, and he decided to go with f3, which is not a bad move, actually. It's very normal in this type of lines of the Scandi. Or yeah, I'm more familiar with f3 in the so-called, I think, Portuguese variation of the Scandi, which goes, we can go there. Instead of queen takes d5, when black plays knight f6, trying to regain this, and white wants to keep the pawn, there's this line with bishop g4, f3, bishop f5. Sort of similar, but not quite, because black will need to play a pawn down. Anyway, going back to the game. Clash Kid says, I guess d3 played, it makes more sense go bishop g4 instead of usual bishop f5. Yes, yes, true. Actually, in other lines, I also usually play bishop g4. Bishop g4, for example, in main lines, if if we can call main line something that started with bishop c4 first, I would also go bishop g4. Or maybe first c6 and after knight f3 bishop g4. The idea is this ping is usually annoying, although d4 it's also usually poisoned, but sometimes it makes sense, especially with the bishop on c4, to win this pawn because of this tempo. If I don't have this tempo, if I don't have the bishop taking on d4 sometimes is really dangerous, because white gets a lot of initiative. So bishop g4 is a very common move in most lines of the Scandi. There's a slight problem with bishop g4 usually, because white can go h3, g4, knight e5 and grab the bishop pair. Oh yeah, sure, exactly. The thing I'm saying here in the main lines, if black plays bishop g4, it's absolutely to take on f3, not to allow, I mean, let's say for example h3, I would take here. I don't even bother to consider bishop h5. There are lines where bishop h5 is interesting because then, as you mentioned, g4 95, but then you open the h file for your rook, h3 is weak. Yeah, it's a lot of theory here, but usually the idea is to take on f3 and play with e6 and yeah, play against the bishop pair. But well, as I mentioned here, I think we can take on d4 because of the bishop here, but in other lines without the bishop there, we also take on f3 and then play e6 and play in this Scandi way of okay, you have more space, you have the bishop pair, but you don't have easy targets because there is no tension, there are no pawns threatening each other, and you still have to work a lot. So all maneuvers by white are in a way slow, need time to build, and black has ways to to counterattack. That's why I like these type of positions. But okay, we're going really out of the game. Yeah, in the game bishop g4 I thought it made sense, but as many other moves I think. Anyway, he played f3, and f3 of course wins a tempo, it's not a bad move. And yeah, with the bishop out of the chain seems normal. Bishop f5 now. And one idea of f3 might be to support knight e4 at some point, because at this point I was already wondering, is he playing that passive because he's scared because I'm higher rated and he wants to just try to simplify and okay, f3 made some sense if he wants to continue with knight e4 and trade some pieces at some point. The problem is he cannot do it now because c4 would hang to queen b4 check, I think. So after knight e4 I can take twice on e4 and sack a piece for a pawn, but then regain the piece, so win a pawn. Anyway, bishop f5, and he continued with development, knight ge2. And this is a typical theme also in the Scandi with queen d6, that white usually wants to go bishop f4 to attack the queen, but black usually has two ways to deal with that. In lines with c6, you usually want to go queen b4 as a response to bishop f4 and attack the weak pawn there. But against this passive approach, I think the best for black is to go with e5, a6, knight c6 setup. And I don't like that. I mean, I'm really more familiar with the other, with the c6 approach, which I tend to use a lot. But okay, this was a classical chess game. I was playing for my team, so I did what I thought it was the best or the right thing to do, which is the approach with a6. He won bishop f4. Maybe he had other moves, but okay, nothing wrong with that. e5, bishop g3, and knight c6. And at this point, I think the position is fairly equal. The fact that white played so passive means that I think black is already equalizing. But on the other hand, there's a lot of potential for tactics in this position. Specifically, there's one theme that I think it's key. It's the key theme of the position, and it actually was the key thing of my blunder, of going d4 by white. I mean, the ping on the e5 pawn means that I have to consider always what happens with the move d4. So for some moves now we played some moves that seem like very normal and nothing's happening, but we both had to calculate what happens with d4 at every point. Right now d4 is not a good move because the bishop would be undefended, so queen b4 would be a good counterattack. So he played queen d2, and I guess he had a couple of ideas in mind. At least that's what I thought. I thought, first of all, he doesn't want to commit still to a side to castle, but secondly, he wants to prevent queen b4 to be check, which could be a problem, for example, if he wants to go knight e4. So by going queen d2, he's sort of preparing queen knight e4 if he wants to, and of course also long castle if he decides that. So here I played, yeah, I was thinking I might be, I thought here I might have to be worrying about d4, so I thought, okay, maybe it makes sense to walk immediately out of the ping and you know, keep it safe, or maybe to play knight e4 as well to keep it safe. But I calculated what happens after the most natural move, which is bishop e7, and d4 didn't scare me, so I went here. And one idea is to defend the knight with the bishop, just in case he goes here, I can move the queen instead of trading pieces. And of course, I also want to do the same as him, to be able to castle any side. So here he castled long, and here I think an important factor was our tournament situation, because we're playing this chess league, we're fighting for winning the league. We are in third place, so we are forced to win points. So here I decided to play for the win, and I castled short, basically. But yeah, position is a little bit scary, and maybe like in the previous move, queen c5 or knight e4, already solving the problem of the ping, would have been more cautious. But I said, okay, I calculated what happens, the bishop's still here, so okay, I castled short. My idea is if he ever plays d4, I always have enough counterplay because of the bishop being on c4. So for example, here if he takes, I take the bishop and regain the pawn, and the position is okay, still maybe equal, but at least I have the bishop pair and some pressure. I don't know. Seems fine for black. I was really willing to get into something like this. So that's why I decided to castle short. And here he really wanted to play d4, and he saw this counterplay, so he played bishop b3. I really didn't expect bishop b3, but I cannot remember what did I expect. Maybe it was knight e4. Yeah, I think on knight e4 I was calculating to take with the bishop. Let me remember why. Ah, yeah, because then I have, if he wants to trade queens, I would trade queens. No, then it was with the knight, sorry. Now I remember. I take with the knight, and if he wants to trade queens, I mean, if he wants this, okay, I'm fine. If he wants to trade queens, I really wanted this position as well. But all of this seems like equal anyway. So knight e4 was sort of what I was expecting, but as I mentioned, he played bishop b3, preparing d4, and now my blunder came. Well, actually I didn't blunder in this specific move, but in this specific move I calculated all the line, and I blundered because I missed one idea. I played rook a d8 with the idea that, okay, if he goes knight d4, I take, and if he takes, I take, if he takes, I take, and I'm a pawn up, basically, and in great shape as well. So although he's attacking here, I'm also attacking here, so he cannot take on c7 because I take here, and if he takes my rook, I take with check, and then I have time to take this piece back, so that's good for me. If he can do that, then he has to move the knight, then I go c5, reinforcing this and defending this. So this was great for me, and that was the most forcing line, I think, because of course I have, after d4 I have to take with the knight, that's the only move, then he has to take with the knight, that's the only move, so I thought, okay, that's forcing. Then what else can he do instead? Maybe he can prepare with queen g5, because my bishop hangs. Okay, something like queen g5, bishop here, I still have this defended, then d4, and I thought I could do the same, because even though I'm losing this and he can take with either piece, especially the bishop seems more scary, I have a check, basically. So probably knight takes b3 check, and then just move the queen, and I'm safe, and have the bishop pair. So I thought, okay, if he goes queen g5, I go bishop g6, and d4 is not a problem. If he goes d4, I take it, it's not a problem. So that's why I played rook a8. I was really considering rook fd8, but since I was very tired, I didn't want to blunder stuff like bishop f7, and yeah, I was sure I was calculating very slow and very few things, but I didn't realize I totally messed this line I was showing to you. So he played d4, and as I previously miscalculated, I took with the knight, which is a blunder. This is the real blunder. Had I seen the blunder, here I have to play something different, like queen b4, for example. And okay, he's gonna take the pawn. No, he cannot take the pawn, sorry. It's pinned, that's that's the idea. And then we're going to trade, and yeah, drawish. But of course, I decided to blunder. And here he took, very fast by the way, and here I stopped and thought, because I realized my blunder, and I'm basically losing a piece here. So yeah, the previous move I thought for 1 minute, and here, after I realized my blunder, instead of taking on d4 with the queen, which is like the obvious recapture, I thought for like 5 minutes trying to figure out what to do, trying to figure out if I have to deviate here or in the next move, because I'm basically losing a piece. And the idea is he will have, after queen takes d4, he will have queen g5. With this double threat, and I'm just losing a piece. There's nothing I can do. I'm just losing a piece there. That was a horrible blunder. So here I thought for 5 minutes, and I thought, okay, I have nothing better than losing the piece, because what's the alternative? To move the bishop, he moves the knight, and that's like very obvious. That's a piece up for absolutely nothing. So I finally took, and I decided, okay, if he goes queen g5, at least I have knight d5 and knight d4 going for some complex position. Not so complex, actually. And of course, if I thought for 5 minutes, I knew, even if he didn't see it before, he would see that I felt something wrong about this position. So I thought he would find queen g5 and do it, but he didn't. So I guess it was my lucky day, because he didn't play queen g5. So after queen g5, I'm basically a piece down for absolutely nothing. Nothing. I have nothing here. So I have to do something, so I guess I would play knight e5, most likely, because the alternative was knight e4. Both of them seem similar, but I guess I really need to keep the e7 bishop if I ever want some tricks. So knight e5 would be the most forcing move. Now he has to take here, because of course if he takes my queen I take with check and then I take the rook, so only move for white is to take the piece. And now like queen check, check here, and here I basically have nothing. I have nothing. I mean, he's taking here, so I don't have time for this or this. So I guess I have to play like this, or maybe trade rooks first and then that, and to play a piece down. But okay, at least some holes in here, some hope of a5, a4, I don't know. I guess I would play this and hope for being able to trick him in this position where at least his king is a little bit more exposed, but of course I'm a piece down, so yeah, I would be lost here, totally. But after queen takes d4, he thought for like 5 minutes as well, 4 minutes, and he played queen to e2. So after the game I asked him, why didn't you play queen g5? Didn't you see it? And he said, of course I saw it, but I was scared. So I guess a little bit of respect there or something. And yeah, it was my lucky day. So after that I thought I had a chance to survive and maybe even to win. So here of course he steps out, he attacks my queen, and he's attacking this pawn twice. So he's basically going to regain the pawn, but it seems to me like it's going to be 3 versus 3, each side totally equal position. So I had a choice here to go queen c5, looking for the queen trade, or the alternative was going queen b4 and try to attack in a crazy game. That was my thought here. The idea is that he's gonna take with the queen to attack c7 and also f5, so the safe move is queen c5, basically, to trade queens, not to lose any pawn, and draw. But I had a look at my teammates' boards to see whether I have to play for crazy attack, and since all positions were still very, very open, I decided to play safe, and I played queen c5. But just to show what was the idea behind queen b4, I think queen b4 is not objectively a good move, but from a practical point of view, it would be a decent way to create complexity. So of course after queen e5 I have to save this bishop, this was the idea, and if he takes the pawn, then I will have rook c8, because the queen is defending this guy, and the idea was basically to attack this way. And okay, I'm giving up one pawn, but I will have some strong initiative here in return. maybe compensation, maybe not. Actually, after the game, I realized that here, instead of taking the pawn, a much better idea for him would be to play a3. And then I'm forced to allow the queen trade, because I need to keep an eye on this. So I would have to play queen c5, and then he can trade, and only then take here. And then, okay, it's a pawn still for some sort of attack, but not easy, not easy. Because, okay, if here he goes passive, then I can immediately get my pawn back, but he can do like this, or even just defend the knight, and I'm going to be a pawn down, and okay. At least the game is complex, opposite side castling. I have the c file open, maybe a lot to play still, but that was very, very risky. And as I mentioned, I thought I didn't have to, so I played safe with queen c5. And now I thought he was going to take here, he didn't, but I thought he was going to take here, trade, trade, c6 to save the pawn and draw. Still, I would play this for a while because, okay, I'm high rated, I can expect to have a little bit more technique in the endgame, so still not really uncomfortable with playing this for a win, but I think objectively this is totally equal. But after queen c5 he committed a mistake, not a terrible one, but it was nonsense basically. He played bishop f2, and yeah, I think it happens to me also when I play against stronger opponents, but I see this when weaker opponents play against me. I think whenever, well, not always, but many times when someone weak plays against someone strong, this type of thing happens, that the weak guy is not practical enough, and he decides to complicate things where things were already easy. So first of all, if you are given a piece, you take it. That's the more practical approach. Like, why didn't he take the piece when he could? But now here, if you're pawn down and you played a move, queen e2, that wins the pawn back, you take it. You take it. Or at least, if you want to do an intermediate move, do it like, I mean, I'm not saying knight a4 is a good move. I don't like it. But it would be better than using a piece that was attacking the pawn. Because now, after bishop f2, I simply moved my queen, still defending the pawn, and now he cannot take the pawn. So now, basically, black is a pawn up. So he just gifted me a pawn with this bishop f2 move. Now, after the game, he thought, I mean, in the game, I thought, oh, he didn't see I still have the a5 square to defend the pawn. So I thought he was thinking, okay, he has to move the queen out, and I'm gonna take the pawn. But no, his explanation was, no, I saw queen a5, but I thought I would be able to trap your queen with some a3, move the knight, move the bishop before, which honestly doesn't make any sense, because of course I'm always seeking for sacrifices here, and also it doesn't really work. I mean, how is he going to defend the a3 pawn if he plays b4? I mean, I don't see the construction he was intending, and yeah, you don't you shouldn't think like that. You shouldn't rely on wishes, just on concrete details, concrete calculations. So yeah, bishop f2, queen a5. If the idea was to trap my queen, it was really, really unfortunate way to think. So I kept a pawn. Still, not the end of the world, because still opposite side castlings. You know, if both sides start to attack, I think the number of pawns is totally meaningless. So still a lot to play on here. Actually, I think the engine says this is advantage for black, but not a huge advantage. And black has some problems as well about coordination. This is not the best way to defend a pawn. This is not the most active bishop. So yeah, still not the end of the world for white. Now he took on d8, which I don't think it's a bad move, but I don't see the purpose either. I would probably keep rooks. I would probably start already attacking with h4, g4. But okay, he took, and here I thought for a moment, because the most natural move is to take with the rook, but then I was thinking, what is the construction I want to build? So a move that I always want to play is c6 in this position, because I want to prevent some stuff there. I want to also have the c7 square to be able to properly defend the pawn e5. For coordination purposes, I want to play c6 at some point. So after a while, I decided to take with the bishop, because that way after c6 my bishop would be able to have squares anyway, and also by removing the bishop from e7 I have another way to defend the e5 pawn if necessary. I think there's nothing wrong with bishop takes, but I think there was nothing wrong with rook takes, which made more sense. Maybe I was scared of trading too much stuff with something like this, but of course I can also not choose not to trade, and yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I took with the bishop because I worked out some lines and I didn't see any problem with that. And here he played a move that shows that something's wrong with white's plans. He played bishop g3. And again, if something's not working, well, you change your plans. It's not a problem. During a game, I feel like you cannot have a master plan. I mean, only in books, only after the game is played, you can tell the story as if there was a master plan that went all smooth during the game. But what usually happens really is during the game you change your plans continuously. And sometimes a plan doesn't work, then you pick another one. And time is a factor. You cannot spend time in doing moves that have no purpose. So having done bishop f2, bishop g3 is definitely a tempo loss. So what I would have done here is try to find a different plan, not the plan to put pressure on this pawn, but a different plan that involves not moving again the bishop here from here. I think the bishop is good there. And actually I think the normal plan for white here is to play g4 and h4 and attack. And maybe the bishop at some point from f2 coordinates well with other pieces on the c5 square, for example. Or maybe at some point it can go into the attack if d4 gets ever available, or via e3. I don't know, but yeah, bishop g3, I didn't like it. I think that's a bad move. Okay, it has one threat, that's certain, but I have several ways to defend it. Was even thinking in ways to give the pawn back to have good position, but yeah, he's blocking his own attack. I think bishop g3 can be never a good move. So here I chose to jump back with the knight. Probably rook e8 made more sense, but I thought if he, for example, goes like this, I would play knight e7 anyway. So why would I mean, if I have to pick which way to start with, I think knight e7 made more sense to me, because the rook's still defending something, and the knight is not doing a lot here, actually. Okay, it's maybe preventing some jump to d5, but it has definitely no good squares in here. Maybe we could argue h5 is a good square for it, but the bishop can always go back to a better square, to what I thought was a better square. So that's why I decided to play the knight, because I thought it was doing nothing here, and I thought it was doing much more in here, because if I ever remove this bishop from here, then my attack would be much stronger. So knight e7 I played. The only concern, of course, is the knight was protecting d5, but I thought, okay, with my bishop on d8, which seemed like a strange move when I did it, knight e5 isn't good, because I just play c6, which I want anyway, and the bishop is controlling everything here. So that again made me feel that knight e7 coordinates well with my previous idea. But of course my pieces are still a little bit strange. So my plan is to play c6, maybe rook e8, maybe queen c7, maybe bishop g6. And yeah, one problem I had previously was this bishop, which I hanged in the... This is exactly the bishop I hanged before, and I still have a problem with it. So instead of knight e7, I think it was more practical to play rook e8 and maybe bishop e6 or bishop g6 to immediately solve the problem with my bishop, because I still have a problem with the bishop. Now it's tied to defending this knight, as we will see. So my opponent played a normal move, which was rook d1. I thought he was going to play rook e1, forcing me to play like this, or bishop f6, which by the way was another point of playing bishop knight e7, to have this square available for the bishop. But anyway, he played rook d1, which is a good move, saying, okay, remember that this bishop is undefended, it might be a target of some tactics, and now it's also tied to defending this guy, so you can never play bishop g6. So not a bad move. It's not threatening anything, but it's saying, be careful, this is defending this is defending this, this is undefended, this is still on the 8. Black doesn't have the best coordination ever, definitely. Anyway, I played a move I wanted to play here, which was c6, and he played the obvious move, knight to e4. And it's the obvious move because after c6, of course, I have this hole in here. So here comes my second blunder. And when I made the move, I knew it was very likely a blunder, but I didn't realize it was a blunder. And when I say I knew it was very likely to be a blunder, it's because I made the move after thinking for 25 minutes. I spent 25 minutes in this move calculating a lot of lines, and in the end I didn't like any of my ideas, and I chose another one. And when you do that, you know it's very likely to be a mistake, but what can you do? Time is clicking, the clock is ticking, so yeah, my idea here, if I remember correctly, I had several ideas here when I played c6 in the previous move. I had the idea, one idea was to take on e4, another idea was to play knight c5, another idea was to play bishop e7, and another idea was to play queen c7. Those were my main ideas. I spent 25 minutes thinking all of those, especially the bishop takes e4 and the knight c5 ideas, which were the most forcing. And then I decided to play the fifth move. I played a totally different move here. So let me first show what did I think here. Bishop takes e4 is giving the bishop pair, but I have some ideas in mind. First of all, if he takes with the pawn, then I really like now my pawn up, because I just hold things, I keep things safe, and then I'm gonna have a good structure as far as I see. Maybe even check here and bishop here. So I thought it makes more sense to take with the queen, but now knight c5, since it threatens the queen, forces him to take on e5 with the queen, not with the bishop. And then I have this check. He cannot take because of knight b3, losing the winning the queen. And king b1 is forced, because if f4 or bishop f4, he also loses the queen. For example, let's take one of those, f4, check, and okay, if he takes the knight, he loses the queen, I mean, because of the pin. With the bishop, it's exactly the same. So here he would be forced to do this, but then I'm a piece up, so so that's why I thought bishop g5, forcing this only move. And yeah, then I didn't like this and king b1. I was thinking bishop f6 here, but then I thought, I calculated that it was much better to start with bishop f6 here. And what was the idea here? Well, one idea is he cannot threaten my weak point. So after he moves the queen, I have knight takes b3. And let's do a bad move with white, for example. This check takes, the queen is on pre on f5, so he has to take, so I won a piece. Well, actually, it's check, so I win the queen, sorry. So I thought here the only move for him was queen e3, to be able to take with the queen. So for example, let's do another bad move for him to show, but a bad move that doesn't lose the queen, like queen e2, for example. I take, and now either he loses a2 or he allows me to check here and win b2. Like here, check, and I take on b2, and if here I just take on a2. So that's why I calculated that after bishop f6 the only move was queen e3, to be able to take with the queen on b3. Then I didn't find anything really good for me in this position. Still, I think it's not a bad position to play, because I'm already regaining the bishop pair, and yeah, it feels equal to me, which I didn't like. The problem is I did something worse, but so if I had calculated better what I did, maybe I should have gone for something like this. Um, so, yeah, now I remember. The problem is, after bishop here, he has rook takes, which I think is a better move for him. And then my idea was to play bishop d5 to at least remove this guy, but I'm really giving up some pawns for the attack. And especially if he takes here, I think it's hard for me to continue a good attack. So that's why I discarded bishop takes e4, because of rook takes e7. Then I thought maybe knight c5 was interesting, but the problem is after takes, he immediately regains the pawn, and I don't see anything particularly interesting about this for me. I mean, I don't have any interesting tricks like this. So what else? What else was in here? Then the bishop e7 move, and I think he has this, and I was going to play something like this, or this, I think. Okay, but yeah, I didn't see anything great, so I think I should have played queen c7, because of course 96, the big threat is these two guys over here, so queen c7 would be normal to defend this guy, and then if 96, I mean, if I don't want to give up my bishop pair, I think I should play queen c7, but then for some reason I decided to play bishop c7 with the idea that, okay, I'm going to probably take on d6 if you play this, or sorry, queen c5 better to have some checks in here. But from two options to do that, bishop e7 and bishop c7, I made the blunder. I took the bishop c7 one. Bishop e7 was necessary. I just felt that, well, at least by defending this guy yet another time, I have more freedom for these pieces. But actually, what I'm doing is cutting my options for the queen. So this bishop c7 move was a blunder that neither of us saw during the game. And now white has a crashing move that Lichess is showing, because I have this best move arrow that I'm disabling now. Yeah, so in this position, after this blunder, white has this bishop e1 move, because yeah, one thing I thought here is I still have problems with this bishop that is tied to defending this knight. But after bishop c7, I mean, if he has the move g4, I'm screwed. I'm lost. Like, I cannot move the bishop is tied to this, so I have to play bishop e6. He trades, I lose my knight. So when I played this, I felt, okay, since he cannot attack my bishop because he has no g4, he has no knight g3, then I'm fine. The problem is bishop e1 allows both of them, especially knight g3. So yeah, so in this position I'm lost. Basically, I mean, I'm again losing a piece. For example, queen b6, knight g3. How do I defend my knight on d7? That would be losing a piece again. Bishop e1, he didn't see. I didn't see it either. At least it wasn't like the previous one that he saw it and he didn't play it. But yeah, I blundered my f5 bishop for the second time in the game. So after bishop c7, he played a bad move. Of course, bishop e1 wins a piece. We didn't see it, but I thought he was going to play knight e6. I was really sure he was going to play knight e6, because that's what the position is about. I played c6, weakening d6, he played knight e4. I thought he was going there, but he played a very bad move, I think. He played knight g5. And again, this reminds me of the position where he made the bishop f2 move, where he made a move hoping for having something, but without having something in concrete. And I think here he's doing the same. Okay, the knight is going to the attack, maybe some pressure on f7, but he's hoping for, but he's not having anything. So unless he has something concrete against f7 that I cannot see, I can even play h6 here. But I didn't play h6 because I think the knight was much better on e4 than it is on g5, because now it again opens up my bishop and it loses control of the c5 square, which I wanted for my knight. So in this position I definitely played knight c5, which I think is a good move. Probably the best move. And of course it wouldn't be possible if the knight was still here. So here at least I calculated correctly what happens after bishop takes f7. It has to be noted that he cannot take this pawn because of the trick knight takes b3. And basically I'm threatening to take the bishop, and then again queen a1 or queen takes a2, depending on what he takes with. So he probably has to either save the bishop, but then I have b5, or maybe pile up on f7, something like queen c4, when I was absolutely going to chop on that bishop out, and then probably play something like h6, and okay, I have the bishop pair, pawn up. I would convert this, because after you move the knight I even have the chance to win a pawn on a2. If you dare to take on b7, then I might kill you very fast on the b file. So yeah, I was very happy with this, but actually I don't see anything better for white, because again, these moves he made with these pieces over here, he was hoping for something that wasn't there. So he went all in now, and he took on f7. And yeah, I have everything under control. That's important, because I mean I even have two pieces on d7 and two pieces on d8, so there's no way I have any problems here, and e5 still cannot be taken because of the trick with the check, so I felt very comfortable to take on f7. Anyway, I could also go to h8 if I have any concerns, but I didn't see anything good for white here. I think by far the only move here is queen c4, and that's what I calculated when I took on f7, and I think he missed it because he didn't do it. And in the analysis I said to him, okay, the only way to at least try to have something here for white is queen c4, when okay, I can give the piece back, but what I was going to do is to try to keep the material with bishop g6. And here it was important to see b4, and yeah, when I took on f7 I calculated this, and I saw that after check Of course, if he goes here, then there's no attack, so he has to go here. And knight a4, threatening check, threatening this check. This is still defended. There's no time for rook d7 because of the threat of checkmate. And here, this was very, very lucky also for me, because during the game I didn't see the move bishop takes e5 here. We saw this in the post-mortem. Bishop takes e5, defending and also attacking, because of course I cannot take because of checkmate. And yeah, I was lucky that here I'm also winning, I think, with the move b5. And there's no time for like queen e6, because I just take on b4 and I'm able to play queen e7 if necessary. So here I think black is winning. At least that's what we saw in the post-mortem. If queen e6, check, queen somewhere. Well, here there's a check on e5, so here. And worst case scenario, I have queen e7. Maybe I have even something stronger. Which move sacks Lord Dushikazi? Which move? Anyway, let's go back, and back. So again, I think I'm still in good shape after queen c4, but I think white doesn't have anything better at this point. Queen b2. Queen b2? I didn't see any queen b2 in this line I just shown. Okay, the line was queen c4, bishop g6, and if b4, which again, it's probably not the only move, but that was the only one that scared me and I had to calculate. Then queen check, here, knight here, bishop takes. And as I mentioned here, I have b5, and I think with b5 I win. Because I think queen e6 is the only move to keep the pin. Yeah, and if he doesn't keep the pin, then I can take on e5, because I have rook f8 against any move. Then you could do queen b2, which would be bad. I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, when I do knight a4, I threaten queen b2 mate. That's true, and that's why white would play bishop takes e5. To defend against that mate. That was what we were seeing. Now, since b5 is really strong there, probably bishop takes e5 is a bad move, and probably he has to go in damage control mode with something like queen b3, but then I mean, no, that also doesn't work. So knight a4 is really nasty. You could move black queen to b2, but that would be a bad move. Okay, I don't know what you mean. Anyway, let's go back to the game. He didn't play queen c4, which I think was his last chance to hope for something in this game. He took the rook, and now it's totally easy for black, I think, because yeah, I have everything under control. He cannot even take on e5. If he now does the check, bishop e6, the bishop is no longer on b3, so now a2 is weak. I guess he might try a3, but yeah, This feels really bad position here for white already. But here he blundered a piece, so the game is over soon, and I think I'm going to just go through the rest of the game, because I mean he blundered the piece with bishop e5, so not much more to see in this game. Of course I took it. He cannot take back because of knight b3, of course, or knight e3, probably even better, because then his rook is gonna be blocked, but never mind, he loses the queen, so it's okay. He lost the piece here, he realized, then he checked me, played bishop e6, he tries to go for some checks, but I saw that I can escape from the checks. Here I was calculating if this leads to forced checkmate, but it doesn't. So I just took on a2, check, check, and king g6, and he has no more checks. And he didn't resign here. I was expecting rook d4 here. Yeah, that was interesting, because I mean, I don't know, I knew I was winning already, but it was funny the moment that I saw, okay, it's rook d4, I'm gonna go queen a1 and knight b3. I mean, I have a strong attack, of course. I mean, everything's going well, he has no checks. That's why I thought he was going rook d4 to at least, I don't know, remove this bishop and maybe hope for some perpetuals. But here I knew there were better moves, but I was going to go here and here, because that's totally forcing line to end up a piece up and remove everything from the board. So that was my idea against rook d4. I'm pretty sure there are better moves than this, but as I mentioned, I was tired even before playing the game, so I didn't want to spend more time calculating. Anyway, he went queen b4 here, which makes some sense, I guess. But well, first of all, there's a checkmate in 3 that in 4 that I didn't see here, but I found another good move. I think every move wins here. One important fact is that the queen is overloaded, defending b2, but also defending against the check on f4. So besides b4, there's no other square from where the queen can do both of that, because d4 is protected. So that's why I played a5. And now he either allows me to take on b2 or on f4. And that was how the game ended. He took the knight, I checked him, and he resigned, because of course it's checkmate in 2 like this. And yeah, this bishop f4 idea also explains the checkmate in 4 that is here and I didn't see, which was beautiful. Knight b3 check. And now if he takes with the pawn, this is mate. So he has to take with the queen, but then bishop f4, and that would be again the same mate. Anyway, once he blundered the piece, game was over. Bilicious is following. Thank you, buddy. Okay, that was a terrible game by both of us, my opponent and me. I'm really not proud of it. I think I calculated really wrong. I spent very few times I spent very few time in my first blunder, and I spent a lot of time in my second blunder. Yeah, something's wrong with me in that sense. I hope I can. I hope I can put that on my being tired condition, and that I can play better chess. But yeah, this game was really. I mean, besides the two blunders, the rest of the game I think I played okay, but yeah, I didn't deserve to win, and I didn't play in the level that my rating says. So I'm looking forward to the next game, and hope I play better chess. Anyway, it's been more than an hour here analyzing a really bad game. So I'm going to stop here, go back and see how the candidates round goes, and whether it ended or not. And after the candidate round, I will probably be streaming, but some real chess, not analyzing some games, tourneys, or something. So see you later. That's it for now.